You've been lied to. All your life, you've been told that women only want the nice guy, the safe guy, the one who never makes waves. But what if I told you that deep down, every woman has a secret attraction to a certain type of man, a man she will never openly admit she craves? This man isn't dangerous in the way you think. He doesn't need chaos or cruelty. Instead, he carries something primal, something powerful, something rooted in ancient Stoic philosophy. And if you stay with me until the end of this video, I'll reveal the exact monster inside you that she can't resist, and why denying it makes you invisible. Now, let me ask you this. Why do women chase excitement, yet claim they want stability? Why do they say they want a gentleman, but fall headfirst for the man who feels untamed? It's confusing, right? You see it in movies, in real life, maybe even in your own relationships. You're not alone. Most men struggle with this contradiction. And here's the truth. It's not about being a bad guy. It's about embodying an energy most men have forgotten. An energy the Stoics actually practiced. You don't have to become cruel, reckless, or arrogant. You just need to awaken a side of you that is already there. Think of me as your older brother for the next few minutes. I'm going to break this down step by step so you understand not just what attracts women on the surface, but what keeps them hooked at a deeper psychological level. So let's get into it. We're going to uncover 5 traits of this monster women secretly desire. Each trait has its roots in Stoicism and human psychology. Sign number 1, the unshakable presence. You've probably noticed something about the men women can't seem to forget. It's not always the richest guy, the funniest guy, or even the best looking. It's the man who walks into a room and without saying a word, shifts the entire atmosphere. That's presence. Now, when I say presence, I'm not talking about being the loudest in the group, cracking the most jokes, or forcing attention. No, I'm talking about the opposite. Presence is when you are fully there, grounded and calm. It's when your energy feels solid, unshakable, even magnetic. Think about it. Most men crumble under pressure. They fidget with their hands. They talk too fast. They over-explain. They try too hard to win approval. But the man with presence doesn't flinch. He doesn't beg. He doesn't chase. He doesn't need to fill every second with noise. When the storm hits, he stays centered. And here's the psychology behind it. Women live in a world of uncertainty. They deal with emotional ups and downs, changing moods, and constant external pressure. So when you show up as a man who is steady, calm, and completely in control of himself, you become the anchor. You become the rock she can lean on. That's why presence is so magnetic. It gives her a sense of stability she can't easily find anywhere else. Now, let's connect this to Stoicism. The Stoics believed one truth that separates boys from men. You cannot control the outside world. You can't control her mood. You can't control the weather. You can't control what someone says about you. But you can always control how you respond. Presence is simply you living out that truth in real time. When chaos surrounds you, you remain steady. And believe me, that kind of steadiness is rare. So rare that it feels intimidating. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine you're on a date. She's testing you, maybe teasing you with a little sarcasm. Most guys would laugh nervously, stumble over their words, or rush to defend themselves. But you just smile slightly, lean back, and let the silence breathe. You don't rush to fill the space. You don't break eye contact. You let her feel your calmness. In that moment, she realizes she's not dealing with just another guy. She's dealing with a man who is unshakable. That calmness says more than words ever could. Here's the catch though. Presence doesn't mean you're passive. It's not about sitting there like a statue, saying nothing, doing nothing. Presence is active awareness. It's when your body language, your tone, your eyes all communicate. I am here. I am in control. I don't need to chase approval. Now ask yourself honestly, how many times have you been on edge when talking to a woman? How many times have you lost your train of thought because you wanted her to like you so badly? Be real with yourself. We've all been there. And you know what happens? The more you try to impress, the more she senses that you're not grounded. The more you seek approval, the more she feels you don't fully respect yourself. Presence flips that script. When you're fully present, you're not trying to win her over. You're simply letting her experience who you are. That's why women often say, "There's just something about him." They can't describe it, but they feel it. Here's another example. Think of a time you saw a man who didn't even need to talk much, yet everyone paid attention to him. Maybe it was at a party, a workplace, or even in a casual group setting. He wasn't trying hard. He wasn't dancing around for attention. But his posture, his eyes, his calmness, those spoke louder than words. That's presence. So how do you build it? First, slow down. Most guys rush because they're nervous. But when you slow your movements, when you take pauses before speaking, you send a message. I am not in a hurry. I am in control. Second, eye contact. Not in a creepy, staring way, but steady, relaxed eye contact that shows you're not afraid to be seen. That alone communicates volumes. Third, breathe. Yes, breathe. Most men hold their breath without realizing it when they feel pressure. A steady breath makes your energy steady, and she will notice it. Now, let me give you a little challenge. Next time you're around a woman you're attracted to, practice this. When she speaks, don't rush to respond. Let there be 2 or 3 seconds of silence. Just hold her gaze, smile faintly, and then reply calmly. Watch what happens. 9 times out of 10, she'll lean in closer, laugh nervously, or touch your hair. Why? Because she feels your presence, and it draws her in like a magnet. Presence isn't about dominance. It's not about being aggressive. It's about self-mastery. And that's why it connects so deeply with Stoicism. A Stoic doesn't chase the world. He doesn't react wildly to every event. He stands firm, knowing his power is internal. You can embody that same principle in your dating life, in your career, in every interaction. So remember this. The monster every woman secretly desires is not the man who shouts the loudest, not the man who chases the hardest, but the man who carries himself with quiet, unshakable presence. Because presence is power. Presence is mystery. Presence is unforgettable. And here's the key takeaway for you. You don't need to change who you are. You just need to strip away the nervous habits, the approval seeking, the noise. What remains is the man who is fully there, grounded in himself. That's presence. And once you cultivate it, you'll notice how people, especially women, start treating you differently. So let me ask you, have you noticed this before? The way women react differently to the calm, grounded guy in the room? Now imagine if that guy was you. Sign number 2, controlled chaos. Now that you understand presence, we need to add another layer. Because if all you bring is calmness, some women might misread it as boring. What truly makes the monster inside you irresistible is not just stability, but the ability to spark fire at the right moments. That's what I call controlled chaos. Sounds strange, right? Chaos? But controlled? Let me explain. Controlled chaos is the balance between order and unpredictability. It's when you're stable at your core, but you still carry an edge that keeps her guessing. Think of it like fire inside a fireplace. Without the fireplace, fire burns everything down. But inside that frame, fire creates warmth, excitement, and energy. That's you when you master controlled chaos. Now, why does this matter so much? Let's go into the psychology. Humans crave balance between safety and excitement. Too much safety feels dull. Too much chaos feels dangerous. But the perfect balance? That's addictive. And women feel this even stronger because their emotions thrive on contrast. They may say they want the safe, predictable guy, but watch their actions. They're pulled toward the man who brings surprise, unpredictability, and mystery, while still giving them stability underneath it all. Stoicism actually supports this. You see, the Stoics lived with structure and discipline, but they also embraced fate, the unexpected, the wild nature of life. Controlled chaos is you doing the same in modern relationships. You live with purpose, but you still surprise her, you still shock her, you still keep her on her toes. Let me paint a scene for you. Imagine you plan a date. Most guys would take her to the same dinner spot, order the same meal, have the same conversations she's had 100 times. predictable, forgettable. But you plan differently. Maybe you pick her up and instead of telling her where you're going, you say, it's a surprise. You drive to a hidden rooftop with a skyline view, or you take her to an underground jazz bar she's never seen before. Suddenly, she feels two things at once. Safety, because you're in control, and excitement, because she doesn't know what's coming next. That combination lights up her emotions like fireworks. Here's the truth. Predictability kills attraction. If she always knows what you're going to say, where you're going to take her, how you'll react, she feels like she's figured you out. And once she feels that, curiosity dies. But when she's never fully sure what you'll do, her attention sharpens. She wants to lean in. She wants to discover more. That's controlled chaos at work. Now, notice I didn't just say chaos. There's a big difference between chaos and controlled chaos. Chaos alone is destructive. It's the guy who is reckless, unreliable, and all over the place. Sure, that can be exciting for a moment, but long-term, it drains her. Controlled chaos, on the other hand, means you know when to break patterns, when to surprise her, when to add sparks of mystery, while still keeping your foundation solid. Let me ask you a question. Think about the most exciting experiences in your life. Were they perfectly planned? Or did they have some element of surprise? That last-minute trip, that unexpected adventure, that spontaneous night that turned into an unforgettable memory. Exactly. That's what women crave too. And when you can be the man who brings that energy into her life, she'll never forget you. Now, here's a practical example you can try. Let's say she texts you asking what you're doing. Instead of the boring, just chilling, you reply with something playful like plotting world domination, but I might let you join. That small twist breaks the script. It makes her smile. It keeps her guessing what you'll say next. That's controlled chaos even in simple conversations. But let's go deeper. Controlled chaos also applies to how you carry yourself. Imagine you're calm and present most of the time, steady, grounded. But then, out of nowhere, you crack a bold joke, you spin her around playfully, or you make a move when she least expects it. That sharp shift of energy jolts her emotions, creating a rush she can't resist. It's like riding a roller coaster that's thrilling, but still safe because it's under control. This is the key. Contrast creates attraction. Presence gives her safety. Chaos gives her excitement. When you fuse the two, you create polarity. You become the man who is grounded yet unpredictable, stable yet wild, calm yet thrilling. And that's the energy she secretly desires but will never admit. So let me leave you with this challenge. Over the next week, notice how predictable your interactions are. Do you always text the same way? Do you always take her to the same spots? Do you always react the same when she tests you? If yes, it's time to break the pattern. Introduce just enough unpredictability to keep her guessing, while staying in control. That's how you turn normal interactions into unforgettable experiences. Because here's the secret. The monster every woman secretly desires isn't just calm and steady. He's also alive, fiery, unpredictable, but only in the right doses. And once you master this balance, you'll notice something strange. She won't just want to be around you. She'll feel like she needs to be around you. So remember this. Too much order is boring. Too much chaos is destructive. But controlled chaos? That's the sweet spot. That's the monster she secretly craves but will never admit. Sign number 3, ruthless self-respect. You can have presence. You can bring controlled chaos. But if you lack this next trait, everything crumbles. And that trait is ruthless self-respect. Now, don't confuse this with arrogance. This isn't about being loud, rude, or dismissive. Ruthless self-respect means you value yourself so deeply that you refuse to tolerate anything that diminishes your worth. You carry yourself like a man who knows he is the prize. So let's break it down. What is self-respect? It's knowing your boundaries and enforcing them. It's walking away from situations that dishonor you. It's refusing to beg for validation. And the ruthless part means you don't compromise those standards, not even when attraction, fear, or loneliness tempt you to lower them. Now, here's why it's so magnetic. Women respect men who respect themselves. If you bend over backwards for her approval, she feels it instantly. And instead of appreciating you more, she actually loses attraction. Why? Because deep down, she knows a man who doesn't value himself cannot truly protect or lead. The Stoics understood this deeply. For them, virtue was more important than comfort. They believed it was better to suffer loss than to betray their principles. That's exactly what ruthless self-respect looks like in your life. You would rather walk away than sell yourself short. Let's imagine a scene. You've been talking to a woman for a while. You set up a date. At the last minute, she cancels with a flimsy excuse. Most guys would either get angry and blow up her phone, or worse, beg for another chance. But not you. You simply reply, "No worries, let's catch up another time." And then you move on with your life. No begging, no drama, no emotional spiral, just standards. That one act alone will shock her more than 100 texts ever could. Because here's the truth, when you're willing to walk away, you flip the power dynamic. You're no longer chasing, you're choosing. And that's a position most men never reach. But let me be real with you. Having self-respect is not always easy. In the moment, your emotions will tempt you to chase, to cling, to compromise. Maybe you're afraid of losing her. Maybe you think this chance won't come again. But here's the paradox. The more you cling, the faster she slips away. The more you respect yourself, the more she leans in. Psychologically, here's why. Respect is tied to scarcity. When something is abundant and easy to get, people don't value it. When something is rare and requires effort, they treat it like gold. A man with no self-respect is abundant. There are millions of him. But a man with ruthless self-respect is rare. And rarity creates desire. Here's another example. Imagine she tests you by making a sarcastic comment about your ambition or your appearance. Most guys would laugh nervously, hoping she doesn't mean it. But you pause, give her a calm look, and say, "That doesn't work with me." Not in a mean way, just firm, clear, and with a faint smile. That moment instantly shifts how she sees you. She realizes you're not afraid to stand up for yourself, even with her. Now let me ask you, how many times have you tolerated disrespect just because you didn't want to lose her? How many times have you ignored red flags because you were afraid of being alone? Be honest. And then ask yourself, did compromising your standards ever make her love you more? Or did it make her lose respect for you? Exactly. That's why self-respect has to be ruthless, not negotiable. Because if you bend once, you'll keep bending. And each time you do, you chip away at your own value in her eyes and in your own. Here's where Stoicism ties in again. The Stoics didn't place their value in things outside their control. They knew wealth, reputation, even love could disappear. But their self-respect, their virtue, their inner strength, no one could take that. When you live this way, you're not afraid of losing her, because your worth doesn't depend on her staying. Your worth is already built into you. So how do you apply this starting today? 3 steps. First, define your boundaries. What will you never tolerate in a relationship? Is it disrespectful language? Is it constant flakiness? Is it manipulation? Write it down. Know it. Second, enforce it calmly. If she crosses the line, you don't need to shout or argue. You simply state your standard and walk away if needed. Calm enforcement is more powerful than emotional reactions. Third, practice detachment. Remember, you don't control her behavior. You only control how you respond. And when you live that truth, you'll never feel desperate again. Now let me give you a challenge. This week, if you find yourself in a situation where someone, anyone, not just a woman, disrespects you, practice ruthless self-respect. Stand your ground calmly. Don't fold. Don't explain yourself to death. Just enforce your standard. You'll feel a rush of power inside you. That's the monster waking up. And here's the final truth. Women will never openly admit this, but they crave a man with ruthless self-respect. Because deep down, they know only a man who respects himself can truly respect her. Without it, everything else, presence, chaos, even attraction, falls flat. So remember this, self-respect isn't arrogance. It isn't cruelty. It's simply the refusal to betray yourself. And when you live this way, you don't just become attractive. You become unforgettable. Sign number 4, dark energy channeled. You ever met someone who felt dangerous, but in the most magnetic way? Not dangerous because they'd harm you, but dangerous because they've seen hell, and somehow they learned how to walk back carrying fire in their hands. That, my friend, is what I mean when I say dark energy channeled. Now let me explain this with a story. I was sitting in a crowded cafe one afternoon, and I couldn't help but notice a man at the far corner. He wasn't flashy. He wasn't even dressed in a way that screamed money or style. But the atmosphere around him was different. People glanced at him, then looked away quickly. It was the kind of presence that made you whisper to yourself, "This man has been through something." A woman sitting near him leaned slightly closer every time he spoke to the barista. Not because of what he said, but how he said it. Low tone, measured words, like someone who carried storms inside, yet refused to let them spill. I realized something. Women are deeply drawn to men who don't hide their darkness, but instead transform it into discipline, drive, and focus. Let me paint this clearer. Stoicism teaches us that pain is unavoidable. Loss is unavoidable. Even betrayal is unavoidable. But what separates the ordinary man from the man women secretly crave is how he uses those shadows. Dark energy, in its raw form, looks like anger, resentment, addiction, violence. But when a man takes that same fire and turns it inward, into late-night workouts, into building his craft, into staying silent when others provoke him, that's when it becomes magnetism. Because deep down, women sense it. They feel the edge. They feel that you could burn the world if you wanted to, but you choose not to. Let's take Marcus Aurelius, for example. Most people read his meditations and think, "Oh, wise emperor, calm, rational." But they forget, this man fought endless wars, watched his people die from plagues, was betrayed by friends, even saw his own children buried before him. That's trauma on a scale we can barely imagine. Yet he never unleashed chaos blindly. He wrote, he reflected, and he governed with restraint. That's dark energy, channeled. And it's precisely why his name still echoes thousands of years later. Here's the paradox. A man who's never wrestled with his inner darkness comes across as flat. Too simple. Too easy to predict. Too safe. But a man who carries a controlled storm? Who looks like he's seen war, maybe not on a battlefield, but in his own life, and still walks with calm authority. He becomes unforgettable. Women might not even admit it out loud, but their attraction sharpens when they sense this edge. It's not about being a bad boy. It's about being a man who's been tested by shadows, and instead of breaking, he sharpened himself with them. Let me give you an example you can visualize. Imagine you walk into a gym late at night. It's mostly empty, except for one guy pounding away at the heavy bag. Sweat dripping, breath controlled. He's not smiling. He's not laughing. He's not chatting. He's pouring every ounce of pain, frustration, and betrayal into each strike. Now, later that night, he's in a conversation with a woman. He doesn't brag about the pain he's carrying. He doesn't play the victim. Instead, he listens more than he speaks. When he finally does speak, his words are sharp, calm, and unshakable. Do you see the contrast? The storm exists, but it doesn't control him. He controls it. That's the hook. That's the mystery. Stoicism says, don't be enslaved by passion. Most men misunderstand this. They think it means to kill passion. No, it means to govern it. Your dark energy is like a wild horse. If you let it run free, it destroys everything. If you lock it in a cage, it dies and you lose your fire. But if you learn to ride it, suddenly you have unstoppable momentum. That's what women notice. Not the darkness itself, but the mastery of it. So ask yourself, are you avoiding your shadows? Are you hiding from your failures, heartbreaks, betrayals? Or are you turning them into fuel? Fuel for your body, your discipline, your mission? Because when you walk into a room with that quiet, storm-forged presence, people feel it. Women feel it. They may never say it, but they crave it, because it reassures them. Here is a man who cannot be broken by life. And that is more attractive than any smooth line, expensive suit, or fake confidence could ever be. Remember this: you don't have to show your dark energy. You don't have to announce your scars. You simply have to embody the discipline of a man who's been through storms and still chooses control over chaos. Because in that choice lies power, and in that power lies desire. Sign number 5, the untouchable frame. Imagine this. A woman throws a test at you. Maybe she teases you, maybe she challenges you, maybe she pokes at a weak spot she thinks you have. Most men crumble. They defend themselves, they argue, or they lash out with anger. But the man with the untouchable frame, he doesn't flinch. He doesn't argue. He doesn't even give the test energy. He simply exists, steady, like an immovable mountain. And right there, something shifts in her. She realizes she's not dealing with a boy. She's dealing with a man. The untouchable frame is not about being cold or arrogant. It's about mastering yourself to such a degree that the chaos outside of you cannot disturb the calm within. It is the ability to remain centered, collected, and grounded no matter what storm is swirling around you. Women test men for one simple reason. They want to feel safe with a man whose foundation won't collapse under pressure. If her words, her moods, or her challenges can break you, then the world will surely break you too. Picture Marcus Aurelius during the chaos of war. Armies crumbling, plague spreading, politics turning treacherous. Yet his writings and meditations show a man who never lost his frame. He reminded himself that death, betrayal, and loss were simply parts of life. You have power over your mind, not outside events, he wrote. Realize this, and you will find strength. That is the heart of the untouchable frame. Now, let me paint a scene. You're sitting across from a woman at dinner. The conversation is smooth until she suddenly says, "You know, you're not really my type." A weaker man would panic. He'd lean forward, try to over-explain himself, try to sell his value like a desperate salesman. But the man with untouchable frame? He simply smiles, takes a sip of his drink, and replies calmly, "Then it's a good thing I'm not trying to be." Silence follows. The weight of those words hangs in the air. She studies him, intrigued. She wanted to shake him, but instead, she revealed her own curiosity. The untouchable frame is a paradox. It is both gentle and unyielding. You are not stubborn or defensive, but neither are you malleable. You bend like bamboo in the wind, but you never break. This balance is magnetic. Why? Because women feel subconsciously that if you cannot be emotionally swayed by their moods or words, you cannot be broken by life either. And that is security on a level that beauty, charm, or wealth cannot buy. Think about the lion in the wild. The lion doesn't respond to the barking of hyenas. It doesn't waste energy proving itself. It doesn't chase validation. It knows its place at the top. That calm certainty is the untouchable frame. The moment you feel the need to explain yourself, justify yourself, or argue for your worth, you have already stepped out of frame. But let's take this deeper. Why does Stoicism emphasize this so much? Because the Stoics understood that most of life is outside of your control. People will betray you. Fortune will turn against you. Your health, your wealth, your status, all can vanish. The only thing that cannot be taken is your response, your frame, the way you choose to interpret events. When you embody this, women sense it immediately. It's in the way you carry yourself, the way you respond to pressure, the way you never over-explain, never chase approval, never break character. They might not even be able to put it into words, but they feel it. It's why they lean in closer. It's why they test harder. And it's why, paradoxically, they respect you more each time they fail to break you. Let me give you a quick example of what not to do. Imagine she says, "You probably talk to a lot of girls, don't you?" Most men rush to defend themselves. No, I don't. I'm loyal, I promise." Wrong. You just lost the frame. Instead, the untouchable frame answers with calm confidence, maybe even with a playful smirk. "Would it bother you if I did?" That response flips the script. You are no longer on trial, she is. That is how you hold frame. The untouchable frame also means you don't chase, beg, or break yourself trying to keep someone in your life. If she walks away, you let her. Because you know your value doesn't rise or fall based on who chooses to stay. That detachment is not weakness, it's power. And ironically, it's the very thing that makes women want to stay. They cannot dominate or control you, so they admire you, respect you, and feel drawn to you. In the end, the untouchable frame is the invisible shield that separates the men women desire from the men they tolerate. It's the quiet confidence of a stoic warrior who knows that nothing outside of his mind can shake him. And here's the truth. Once you master it, not just with women, but with life itself, you become untouchable in the truest sense. So, let's bring everything together. The monster every woman secretly desires is not some reckless bad boy who destroys everything around him. It's not cruelty. It's not chaos without order. The monster is presence. He is the man who owns every room he walks into, not by shouting, but by radiating unshakable calm. He balances chaos with control. He carries ruthless self-respect. He channels his darker energy without letting it consume him. And above all, he serves his purpose with relentless focus. Now, remember the loop I opened at the very beginning? That shocking truth? Here it is. The monster she craves is not someone else. It's not the guy you envy. It's not the man society tells you to imitate. It's already inside you. But here's the problem. You've been told to bury it. You've been told to play small, to be safe, to be harmless. And let's be real, harmless isn't attractive. Controlled strength is. This is the kicker. When you finally embody this monster, you don't just become magnetic to women. You become unstoppable in every area of life. Why? Because Stoicism is not about impressing others. It's not about chasing validation. It's about mastery of self. When you master yourself, you naturally command respect. You naturally attract desire. You naturally step into the role of a man with dangerous potential, yet total discipline. So here's my challenge for you. Start practicing these traits today. Test them in your daily life. Walk into a room with presence. Speak less, but mean every word. Enforce your boundaries with ruthless respect for yourself. Watch how people treat you differently. Watch how women look at you differently. Watch how your own sense of power grows inside you. And if this message resonated with you, if you felt that spark of recognition deep inside, do not let it fade. Hit that subscribe button right now. Drop a comment below and share your own journey of awakening. Share this with a brother, a friend, a man who's been told to play small. Because the truth is, the world doesn't need more nice guys. The world needs men who embody calm power, dangerous potential, and unshakable purpose. Men who are disciplined enough to control their monster, but powerful enough to unleash it when necessary. Be that man. Awaken the monster within.